This week on Supercars Torque, I talk about prostate cancer, Gen 3, and racing entitlements contracts. The big news this week is that everybody's favourite commentator, Neil Crompton, has come down with prostate cancer. Apparently he's known for a couple of months and kept it very quietly. Told a few people within the industry, but the news came out like this week that he's having to go in for surgery. By the sounds of things, they have caught it early. He will have surgery and will make a full recovery. But definitely, at least my thoughts, and I hope most of your thoughts are with him, because it can't be an easy thing to go through. And just unfortunately, this is something that we hear more and more of, and it is a little bit of a concern as some of us are getting a little bit older. Probably need to go and get these things checked. As uncomfortable as it is, it's probably something that we need to do. The Gen 3 talk will not go away. So there was a crisis meeting last week that, we're all in the dark about because they won't tell us anything. Now there's rumours coming out that maybe the introduction of Gen 3 will be delayed until midway through next season. So we will see a time where the teams will start off the year with the current Gen 2 cars. And from what I've heard at the moment, there will be a line drawn in the sand at some point in the season where you will switch. What I think if we're going to do it this way, maybe what I would prefer to see is maybe a split grid or something so that, you know, it can filter through a little bit. And some of the smaller teams, obviously the Gen 2 cars will need some kind of handicapping thing because, or else no one will make the switch. The Gen 3 cars have to be the pick of the bunch if there is going to be a mixed grid of cars. So if that means you have to put an extra 100 kilos of lead in the Gen 2 cars to slow them down or something like that, maybe they have to run on hard tyres while Gen 3 cars can run on soft tyres. Just something, there has to be a reason for the guys to swap, but it means, you know, Triple Eight's going to have no problem. Teams like DJR, I assume, are not going to have. Well, I really, really hope DJR don't have a problem considering they're the Ford homologation team. But maybe say Tickford that will be running 4 cars. Maybe they can decide, like when they switched, say, from the FG to the FGX, that the two main cars. So obviously you'd be picking, you know, say Waters and Randall. They switch over to Gen 3 and the other 2 cars run as Gen 2 for a period of time before they switch over. Maybe a team like Brad Jones Racing where, you know, maybe they have 1 or 2 kind of, you know, Gen 3 cars and then they can switch at some point during the season just while things build up. But definitely you either have to draw the line in the sand and do the switch at some point, or there's got to be some way that the Gen 2 cars are handicapped, so the Gen 3 cars are the pick, so people have a reason to switch over, or else everyone will just continue running the faster Gen 2 cars indefinitely. I did also see some comments during the week about this whole Gen 2, Gen 3 switch, and the mixed grid thing, and people saying, oh, you cannot do that. Imagine a team changing cars during the middle of the season. And I saw quite a few comments like that. And okay, not everyone's been around watching the sport as long as I have. There's a lot of people who have been watching a lot longer, so can probably bring out a lot more examples than these. But straight away it sprung to mind, back when the teams went from the VS to the VT, you know, that was a fairly big change mid-season. And then we did see, I think, Murphy race the third HRT car at first with the VT. Then Larry was driving the Perkins VT. And then for the last round of the championship, they made Ingle and Lowndes race them, who were the two guys going for the championship, to make sure that like Larry and Murph weren't sandbagging in the VTs with Bathurst coming up. That was in the days where the Bathurst wasn't part of the championship. So they wanted to see the genuine pace of the VT before, which, what better way of showing the genuine pace than give them to the two guys who are gunning for the championship. And back in 1990, similar thing, Jim Richards, Mark Scaife were running the HR31 Skyline, and the GTR came out, that Godzilla. Scaife, who wasn't in the championship hunt, ran it for a few rounds, sorted out the niggles, and then Jim Richards got it for the final round. I think he possibly went on to win. He did win the championship that day. That was a very early memory of mine, so it's a little bit, but I do remember Scaife coming out in the GTR, and the commentators making a big thing of it, watching it break and that, and then Jim having to have it for the final round, and they went to Bathurst and it broke down. But that was also a big departure from what they were running previously, so you could definitely like the Gen 2 to Gen 3 switch, both those examples, and I'm sure there would have been other ones, I suppose, during the Group A era, where people swapped over cars, well, definitely in the off-season, but probably during the year, where even on the outside it might not have looked that significant, but say when cars were coming from overseas and that, you'd get big steps. The Super Tourer days were big like that, where cars would be very different under the skin, even, from the outside they look the same, but you'd be getting these, real fancy ones from the factory mid-season that were just totally different to what they were running previously. The Racing Entitlements contract talk is continuing. I've heard some people say some figures of $20,000 is enough to buy you a racing entitlements contract. My question with this is maybe, as I don't quite understand the system, because Tickford are essentially buying their contract back off themselves. The way I understand the whole system, so the ones that are currently parked are the Tickford one and the Gary Rogers Motorsport one. So there's some sale fees and crap like that, like, when you're selling a house, you got to pay the agent, that kind of thing. So I think you got to pay Supercars a bit of a fee for brokering the deal and that. But as far as I understand, the proceeds of that sale go back to Tickford and Gary Rogers. It's not Supercars getting the money, so it's not a set price or anything. So what I'm wondering is if Tickford has to put in a token amount of money to purchase one. So, and with two buyers for the two contracts, and this, mystery buyer that they've come up with to bump up the value, that Tickford's gone, we'll put in 20k to buy, and obviously because the 20k then goes back to themselves, or maybe the 20k is the agent's fees for Supercars. I don't think you can go and buy one for 20k genuinely at the moment, but that's the story doing the rounds at the moment. The formal tender process has to be done by May 21, which is the end of this week. I don't know, it was expressions of interest or something, the thing they did the other week, and now you've got to put in your formal bids. So I'm not sure if you didn't put in an expression of interest, you can't put in a formal bid. So maybe there is a mystery third person who, just said, like me, going, hey, yeah, I'll put in an expression of interest, just so their name was in the hat for the mix. But everything I'm hearing at the moment is that Tickford Matt Stone Racing are the ones that have put in their expressions of interest, and they're the other ones going for them. There was a feel-good TCR story during the week. It has come out that Gary Rogers Motorsport is using road car bits and pieces to fix their busted Peugeot. Apparently one of the Peugeots got crashed up pretty heavily at the last round, and they've gone to the local dealership and bought some body panels or a chassis rail or something like that, so that they can fix their car. And of course then all of the TCR apologists come out and say, oh, you can't do that in supercars. You can't go to the Ford or the Holden dealers, don't even exist anymore, to go and get your body panels and things like that. Well, did you see Cam McConville, Cam Waters' car at the Bend? That got trashed on the first race on Sunday, and then a couple of hours later, it's back up and running. That's the difference. The TCR car is going off to the workshop for 3 weeks to go and get its road car panels and go and get fixed. The supercar, that gets fixed in a matter of hours at the racetrack, and off it goes, and it won the race. So that it obviously did a pretty good job fixing it. So that's why you can't go and buy those panels down at your local Peugeot dealership or whatever. I'm surprised they probably had to pull some bits and pieces off a display one, because from what I've heard, if you own a Peugeot or one of those European brands, like myself actually, funny story, I needed to get a door seal during the week. That's now coming from Germany, a door seal. I fixed it with a bit of tape. Anyway, let's not get into that little issue there. For all you TCR people, well, that's why you can't go and buy the panels for a supercar, because they're a little bit different. And you just fix them at the track and off you go. You don't have to, piss around for 3 weeks in the workshop fixing one for a somewhat minor infraction. Now, some good channel news here. This is my first purchase with my YouTube money. It's probably a little bit tight because of internet sizing guidelines, but I said I'd give back a little bit to the YouTube community when I made some YouTube monies. And if you're into mountain bikes or biking at all, it's now called, he's changed it from Seth Bike Hacks to Berm Peak. It's a great channel, and this is one of his t-shirts that's available. So if you're into that kind of thing, look it up. And potentially for Winton, I have some big news coming up. Won't say too much at the moment, but waiting for some tickets, and I might get to do some on-site filming there. So that's pretty exciting, and also with the COVID thing and everything else that was going on the previous year in my life, I'm trying to think, I think it's been about 2.5 years since I've seen any live racing. So that is actually I'm actually pretty excited about that. So that's something to look forward to. But until next time, I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.